He says the discovery of oil and gas in large quantities offshore Ghana has the ability to transform this country. More importantly, he thinks that we can turn this country around so that it serves the indigenous people of this country more so than has happened in many other parts of the world. My guest this evening is a prominent traditional ruler, the Omahini of the Essikado traditional area, Nana Kobena Nketsia V. Nana, thank you for coming.
You're welcome, David.
Nana, you have been active, and I've heard you on various occasions at different conferences on oil and gas. It seems to me that the key message for you is that this resource must go essentially to the benefit of these people. But I want to begin by saying to you, what about all those investors that put money in it? How do we do that balancing act?
David, when you get to read more about oil, one of the things it does is that it frightens you.
It frightens you?
Yeah, it's a big fright. In fact, when I personally heard that Ghana discovered oil, more so in the region that I come from, I closed my eyes, and I'm sorry to say, I was sad to say, I prayed it goes away. You
prayed for the oil to go away?
Yes, but it wouldn't go, it stays. And then it reminded me about a proverb that we have, Santrofianoma. That is the Santrophy bird. If you find it in the bush and you allow it to go, you've allowed blessings to go. But when you take it home too, then you are taking home lamentations. Then secondly,
rock and hard stone.
Yeah. Well, the good and the bad.
Okay.
I mean, complete opposites. Yeah. But at the same time too, we have a proverb which is quite deep, and it says that before ansan oduma kumabobo yazin na anansi kokroko otinego. That means that before the creator, oduma kuma the creator, created the world, then Anansi, the great intelligence, was seated. Now, if you look at one of the things that our ancestors have taught us, is Anansi, the fact that we have to think about every situation. It is the idea of thinking. So, before we get this oil, the most important thing that we have to do is to think. Look at what is there, and out of it, be able to create what we want to create with the oil. It's a resource. But if we don't think, and we just rush into it, or allow it to be handled in a particular way, it will then use us, not we using them. Unfortunately, if you look at most of the areas in West Africa, they started using oil. Oil has started using them. And now they're trying to build things to stop the way oil has abused their whole systems. Go to Angola, go to Equatorial Guinea, Fenado, and of course our sister state Nigeria, and probably even Cote d'Ivoire. You know, the oil came and they were not in control of it. Now, if you don't control anything, any tool, that tool will end up controlling you. And that is what culture is about. Development is just the enhancement of a culture. So if any development comes that breaks your culture down, then you have a problem. If anything that comes from another culture, if you don't control it and indigenize it, then you are finished. If you look at the word independence, independence means relying on indigenous system, indigenous dependence. But as a people, we have not been relying on our indigenous systems. We've rather become people who just import. So we live a life of importation from the various structures of governance, from the things we do, our courts, our law, our philosophies, our school system. As far back as 1960, when the Institute of African Studies was being instituted, this was the main thing about the universities. They were foreign imports being put there, teaching foreign things. So it's a big problem that we have. So if you look at Ghana, it's a colonial economy. Basically, we are just extracting. And when we extract, what do we put back in its place? If you go to Prestia today in the Western region, one of the major things that it will affect your sensibilities. If you're not too strong, you will weep. And then you think about the fact that for about 150 years, how much gold has gotten out of Prestia. But yet you go there and it's just like a shanty town.
Yeah. Whose job is it to fix this?
All of us.
I can understand that to a large extent, but who has the primary responsibility?
Well, let me put it this way. Probably one of the things that we praise our first president for, and some of us revere him, mainly because the more you learn about the infrastructures and his ideas and so on, the more you tend to respect him. And it is the fact that he was creating a base that was going to make us self-dependent.
So you are referring to leadership. When I say whose job and you answer like that, it means you accept the fact that leadership at the highest political levels is key to fix these things.
It is.
That's your
very, it's very, very, very important. Yeah. But of course, leadership comes in various categories. Unfortunately for us chiefs, if you pick up your constitution, you might think that we are the forgotten bit of the constitution. It talks about almost everything. Then towards the end, when it talks after commissions and so on, it refers to chieftaincy. And so sometimes I laugh. But if you also think about it very carefully, and looking at countries that have broken down within West Africa, it's also the countries that their culture has been most damaged. Yeah. And so in a way, even though we've been put at the back of as a footnote in the constitution, and sometimes I laugh when miseducated Ghanaians who misunderstand chieftaincy talk about it. And I think that sometimes the worst culprits are we, the educated chiefs, because we are more often than not miseducated about even the institution that we are in. We tend to also abuse the institution, but it is really the navel of our culture and still holding this country in peace and moving us from age to age.
You make it sound as though essentially we are still just back to a primary commodity production environment and so on. Are you suggesting that there are no benefits to that?
What benefits? Go to Prestia to see the benefits. Go to Prestia, go to Takwa, go to Obuasi, and ask yourself, what have we been doing all these years? And then you compare that to Johannesburg. And the contrast is clear. Now, what we need to find out is why Johannesburg and why that?
What accounts for that disparity?
Because we just removed and put nothing back. The system was such, and that's the colonial system. All the infrastructure.
The colonial system is gone long time. Why
has it gone? It's a neo-colonial system, if you want it that way. It is still there. It is still there.
And we are happy. We are in charge. We don't have a British government.
Are we in charge?
We elect our president. We are on the radio all day talking. Everybody in this place has a solution in his mind.
I quite remember that one of your what's the name of it? What do you call it? The finance ministers, right?
Yes.
One day, one of them went after doing the budget. He says, "I went to the IMF and they said, this is right, this is right, this is right. You're still living with conditionalities given to you by foreign banks and so on and so forth. And you tell yourself that you are in charge. You're not in charge of anything. When you depend on a culture,
who pays the piper calls the tune.
Of course, you know
they give you the funds.
Yeah.
So how do you expect that when somebody gives you money, you tell him what to do?
But the thing is that at what point should you need the funds? You see, we've gone into a beggary system. And I use the word beggary deliberately. We go into, budgetary supplements. We go into aid. All these are euphemisms for the name we are begging. You understand me?
You think there's so much dependence?
Yeah, till we turn our mindset around. It's a psychological thing. And culture is consciousness. Culture is psychology. Till you turn your mindset around, believe you me, you keep on begging.
Do you think that chiefs, with all due respect, Nana, traditional authorities are the ones that can turn the minds around in this country so that it becomes a lot more forward-looking? Traditional authority, is that part of what it can achieve?
You see, one of the things that we've been miseducated about is the fact that the black man, the African, has been miseducated to such an extent that he's gone into self-rejection, self-contempt. So he tends to see his own institutions and look down upon them. Go to the law courts, based on European law, neo-colonial law. You have a legal system brought in by the British to oppress you. And then you become independent and you use the same laws to oppress the indigenous thing. And so you hear a lawyer say, oh, those are inferior courts. Which courts are inferior? The court of his ancestors?